Laurie, I don't know if there was embellishment to these stories, but he said that Jonah was having.
You
an issue.
really think Laurie's an embellisher? And another time he came in and I was having breakfast. Oh no, after training he had a meeting and he goes, don't you want to play? Aren't you into this? And I was going, what fuck? And he goes, I'll be up in my room. This is after training before we went down for lunch. He goes, I'll be up in my room. He goes, if you want me to take you out of that team, he goes, you come up and fucking, So, of course I never went up to tell him. I went down, had lunch and stuff. He walks in and he leans on the table, gets right in my face and he goes, I was waiting, you didn't come up and see me. And I was going, fuck. It took all my willpower not to fuck, and I wanted to smack him.
Oh, good, you're here. Come on. This is the centre of performance. Whenever there's a top performance in New Zealand, it all comes from here. That's Lisa Carrington. She's been doing that for days. That's the boy who got the hole-in-one in Taupo. Oh, he did it again. Hey, Finn, how's the performance going?
Top tier.
Nice. This is our Generate room. In here, you'll find our top performers helping Kiwis maximise their KiwiSaver investments. Get in here, Finn. Maximise. Right, Generate. Putting performance first.
Buncey, Frank Bunce, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you. Thanks, Tom.
Hey, it's great to connect. Frank Bunce, 55 tests, including the 1995 Rugby World Cup final, 93 British and Irish Lions series, the first 2 Tri-Nations tournaments, and that historic series win over South Africa in 1996. Did I miss anything?
All my club years. No, I often say to people that I was lucky when going through there because I crossed paths with some of the greats. Some people that can be they're in the conversation for greatest All Black ever. In their positions and this stuff. So
like who?
Like Michael Jones, like Jonah. Like Jeff Wilson, like Andrew Burton's, like. Zinzan Brook, so many names, and I think a lot of them are in that conversation. I think so.
I actually spoke to the All Black coach. So you played your first Rugby World Cup for Samoa,
yep.
and we'll get into that. I've actually had the guy that shoulder tapped you for Sir Brian Williams. I've had him on the podcast.
Oh, yeah,
Legend. So you were getting quite old at that point, and then you played so well in that Rugby World Cup that Laurie Mains then got you for the All Blacks. So you played one World Cup for Samoa, one World Cup for the All Blacks. I spoke to Laurie yesterday at his home in Queenstown for like 20 minutes. He gave me so much intel, which I'll no doubt bring up through this conversation. But you mentioned Jonah before, and he just talked about the pivotal role you had in Jonah's success, you and Eric Rush, because he said he really looked up to you guys. So he would often use you guys as sort of the middleman to get messaging to Jonah.
Yeah, I think we were the buffers, and to be fair, it was Rushy really. Because in the earlier years before Jonah burst onto the scene, so Eric had come to us and just said, and just a group of friends and stuff, and he goes, I heard about this guy, Jonah Lomu, young fella, at school and that, and he goes, he's heard all the stuff about him. He goes, I'm thinking of taking him overseas because, back then you could go and play sevens tournaments all over the world, and I think that's where a lot of people, found their way. And so Rushy said, I'm going to take him. I think he took him to, did he go to Hong Kong? Singapore, I think maybe Singapore, and then up to the islands, went to, Raro and stuff like that. And he came back and he was just, just the way he spoke about Jonah. And, they had a connection from all of that, and Rushy looked after him. So when he came into the All Blacks, when he started making his way, it was mainly Rushy, but there was a group of us, myself and Walter and Glenn Osborne, the Brown brothers. They were calling everyone, but he was just comfortable. Jonah was just comfortable with a group of people that were just kind of like him. Had grown up like him, had experiences like he did, and stuff like that. And we looked after him. So.
Yeah. Oh, this is going to be a fun chat. Do you enjoy reminiscing, or are you sort of in the now? Yeah.
Oh, no, a bit of both actually, but no, I do enjoy reminiscing.
Laurie, I don't know if there was embellishment to these stories, but he said that Jonah was having.
You
an issue.
Really think Laurie's an embellisher?
Actually, I got a little bit of the conversation. I'll play it to you. Like he said really nice things about you. Hang on. Where's the sound here? Here we go.
So he's a professional.
One of the great respectful things about Frank was he could take it tonguing up, and then 2 minutes later he was over it, and he was back to doing his job and doing his job better because he had had a stir up.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a real man.
Yeah.
Believe me. If you had 15 Frank Bunces in the team, you'd never ever lose. For me, I'm very reluctant to say who was best because times in rugby, the game was played differently. But he's right up there with Bill Davis, Bruce Robertson and Joe Stanley, who were All Blacks when I was old enough to appreciate them.
Yeah.
One of the great respect.
Yeah.
See.
Nice words, eh?
They are nice words, yeah.
Was he good at giving you a tongue lashing?
Oh, geez, you'd heard it all. What's it like with swearing?
Oh, anything goes.
What did he? I think one of the things. So we were playing in Scotland, and it wasn't a test. It was a midweek game, and then I get Doc Mayhew comes on the field, and he goes, Laurie said, if you don't stop fucking around, get off. If you're not going to stop fucking around, I'm saying, what are you? And he goes, oh, he's pissed off. I was going, fuck, and it went on and on and on. And I think in those they didn't have the walkie-talkies back then, but Laurie was ringing Doc on his telephone, and he goes, and it just went backwards and forwards for a little bit. I never went off, but after the game finished, and we won, and after the game finished, I walk off, and Doc goes, oh, you better watch out, Laurie's not happy. I was going, oh, fucking, Laurie's not happy. And so we just carry on. I go in the shower, and I'm having a shower, just, and then I turn around, and Laurie's standing there. I was like, fuck. And he looks at me, and he goes, If I bought my gun today, I would have fucking shot you, cunt. And I was going, oh, good hell. And then, so that was one of them. And then he comes in. So, it was like, oh, yeah. And he walks out. And then I think we were having a team meeting. I don't know, I can't remember. But we're having a team party that night, a bit of a social gathering. And then he walks in to the room. And, we're all having a few beers, and he walks in, he turns the music down, and he looks around, and he goes, right. And he goes, anyone who didn't play today? And then he looks around, and he stops at me, and he goes, and fucking you. And he goes, in the foyer tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, we're training. I was like, fucking. And then, so we were just like, carried on the night, went down. He trained me, he put me at lock because we were short there, so he made me train at lock for the whole time. And every time I made mistakes, which of course I was going to do because I was training, in a position I had no idea about. And every time I made a mistake, he just abused me, abused everyone, got, and then, penalised everybody for everything. And I don't know if you remember, because Mike Brewer, he wasn't on the tour. Officially, he was there as a Canterbury rep, and we were short, so he's like, blah blah blah, and he told Mike Brewer to get in to do the training and stuff, and he ended up anyway. Mike Brewer played in a test match ahead of Liam Barry, but he got pulled from the sideline to do it. But that was that tour. But he just abused. I've just seen him. But he'd do it. But he has said that to me too, actually. He said, the reason that I would say that to you is because I knew, I'd get a positive response. You could take it. And he goes, and you could shake it off. And I'm not saying it didn't, at the time it didn't affect me because, you're just thinking, fuck, you have a good training or something, you do something, and then you get abused and you just go, fucking what the... And another time he came in and I was having breakfast. Oh no, after training he had a meeting and he goes... He looks at me and he goes, don't you want to play? Aren't you into this? And I was going, what the fuck? And he goes, I'll be up in my room. This is after training before we went down for lunch. He goes, I'll be up in my room. He goes, if you want me to take you out of that team, he goes, you come up and fucking, So, of course I never went up to tell him. I went down and had lunch and stuff. He walks in and he leans on the table, gets right in my face and he goes, I was waiting, you didn't come up and see me. And I was going, fuck. It took all my willpower not to fuck, and I wanted to smack him. But he would, I'm sure he had a plan. Yeah, but
It wasn't always clear what it was.
It wasn't always clear.
Yeah.
But no, he was the best coach I ever had. And it turned out that maybe he knew before I did that I didn't mind that stuff, And I've seen people. He's abused people, he's sworn at them, he's done who haven't been able to take it and turn it around. So it works both ways. I guess you got to figure out the person, eh?
Yeah. I asked him about your nickname, the Prince of Darkness, and he goes. I speculate how he got that nickname, and then he chuckled, but he said, I don't know for certain. Are you still the Prince of Darkness? How did you get the nickname Prince of Darkness?
You'd have to ask. Well, it was back in those days, when you had a few beers and you used to go out and. We would go out. You'd have a few beers on Thursday, before after training, after you've done the week, because back in those days, and all the rules were changing. I think because you're only allowed to assemble sort of 3 or 4 days out from the actual game. So we'd assemble on a Tuesday, train. Oh, that's in New Zealand, train Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we'd have a little captain's run on Friday. But you'd have a few beers. Within reason, of course, leading up to a game, but then afterwards, and Laurie was all for it. It was what was done in those days. So you'd just go out and enjoy yourself. And he didn't care. He said, as long as you front up, because we used to train actually the day after games, especially when we're on tour. But you'd go out, enjoy yourself, have a few beers, but you better make sure that you turn up to whatever you're supposed to turn up. You've got to be responsible as well. But you turn up to team meetings, you turn up to trainings, you perform at training, you do what you have to do. He didn't care if you went out and had a few beers. So, of course, we went out and had a few beers. And there was a group of people, and Prince of Darkness, I think that's an Eric Rush. I'd go back to Rushy and see where that came from. But, we spent a lot of time out enjoying ourselves.
Oh, work hard, play hard. I suppose it was the culture at the time, late 90s.
Yep.
So Celebrity Treasure Island, you're back on that now. This isn't your first time either. You were one of the original cast members like 25 years ago. What's the difference between 2001 Celebrity Treasure Island and 2026?
Apart from the fact that I'm 25 years older. I think it's taken a lot more seriously now in terms of the production, and what's expected of you. And back then, and I always say it's all about the people. But 25 years ago, you have to stop and think. That's kind of, I can't remember any of the challenges. I can barely remember the team. But we were over in Fiji and we were having a great time, and it was all good. But the thing I do remember about it is, and even if it's vaguely, was that I had a bloody good time and met some good people, which when you do these sorts of things, you always meet good people. And so, when I got asked again, I was thinking, it was quite timely, but I thought, I like I like a little bit of a challenge, nothing too hard these days, but, I won't shy away from things. But, it's always just the people. And, I had a good time, so I figured I'll go back. They didn't pay us 25 years ago. They pay you these days, so, that was
you
always
get a day rate, don't you?
Yeah.
You paid for the days that you're there.
Yeah. You get a sign-on and then you get a day rate and then a bonus if you win.
But you're 64 now. Surely you like sleeping in a comfortable bed.
Yeah. I'm sleeping in a comfortable bed, but I still drive around in a Nissan Tida, though.
Do you actually?
Yeah. Well, I have done for years and years, but it's just one of those little cars that went through our family and sort of ended up with me, and it's a really comfortable little thing, and it costs you next to nothing to drive. And I only, I live in Pukekohe, so I zip around wherever you need to go. You go in 5 or 10 minutes. So.
How do you feel being 64? Because there's that line in the Beatles song, "Will you still need me? Will you still feed me?" When I'm 64, it's sort of like an iconic line.
Yeah,
but you're looking really good. You feel okay?
I do. I feel okay. I've got issues with knees and joints and things like that, but nothing major. And I think I'm lucky. I haven't really had. I've had a lot of injuries, but I haven't had bad injury, and it hasn't stopped me from doing anything. But it was a little odd on the show because people defer, straight away. Oh, are you okay? You okay with this? Can you need to go up there? And you're thinking, oh.
People are calling you matua.
Yeah, exactly. Matua, koro, and all these, you just go. Because actually I was at the airport one time and I don't know what I was doing there. I was dropping someone off or picking someone up, but I drove out the wrong way. I didn't even see the arrows and stuff like that. There's barely any cars there. And I drove out the wrong way. And this other car came in and stopped, and they had to reverse out. And as I drove out, the guy yelled out, "You're going the fucking wrong way, Grandpa!" And I was going, "Oh, what the fuck?"
Because aging's funny, isn't it? Because I'm in my 50s now. I'm a bit younger than you, but not by much. And I don't actually feel any different. So every now and then you get a glimpse of yourself in the mirror, and you're like, "Oh, shit."
I do that. You're walking along the street and your shop window, I'm hunched over and I'm thinking, there was, we did another reality thing, the...
Match Fit?
Match Fit. And, that bears you right down to the bones, but they take this, can't even remember what it's called, but you do all these tests, all this physical stuff, but then they've got this image of you that gets sent. And you don't see it at the time, we don't see it until afterwards, and when they send all the paperwork and everything through to you. And, standing on this thing and you're stripped down to your underpants and that, and just standing there, and it's all right. And then they'll say, okay, and you got, this is, your issue, and you got this problem, your cholesterol's this, and you're sitting there going, fucking hell. And then when the paperwork comes through, they send, and there's an image of you standing there. Fuck, you should have seen it. Oh, man, I hate looking at it. You look at it and you've got a gut and you're bent over and you say, it was terrible.
It's so much vulnerability, isn't it? It's like literally exposing yourself on TV.
Yep.
But you lost your dad at 55 to a heart attack. So you're 9 years ahead of where he is. You feeling good? You feeling optimistic about the future?
Yep. I did say that I was talking to Doc Mayhew about it, and I barely go to the doctors even. So we've had a family doctor. Remember the days when doctors used to come to your house, and so we had this doctor, and he was at the health centre out in Mangere where we grew up, and so one guy, and then when he retired, this other guy, this English guy, he came over and took his place, and we've been 50 odd years, with this same doctor. And I go in and see him now since Doc Mayhew's passed away. With rugby, I was always going back to Doc Mayhew, but now I've gone back to, to Dr. Hall. And I said, I barely come in, he goes, I think you're in every 10 years, for a blood test or something, for a TV show that you might be doing where you need a physical. I said, yeah. And he goes, oh, you're lucky. And I said, oh, yeah. I said, oh, yeah, I've been pretty lucky. I haven't. And he goes, yeah. He goes, but what you will get is going to kill you. So you go, yeah. But, my father, his stuff was, bad lifestyle choices.
Okay.
Not that I haven't made many of them, but, he was a young guy in the Navy, when they waked him up in the morning and they'd drink rum, the old Navy rum thing, and you get a tot of rum and stuff, and then that's all he did, and then came out of the Navy, and he worked in pubs, managed a couple of pubs around in Auckland, and that was his kind of lifestyle, and it just caught up with him.
Yeah, so, as it does.
Yeah.
And you're in an interesting chapter of life, eh? So your dad is 6, 7 grandkids?
Yep.
Yeah. What's the age range of the kids?
Of the kids, my oldest is 40 now, and then my youngest is 6. I had a late in life. Well, you could say that half of them were late in life. But my oldest, is 40. He's over in Australia. He's over in Perth. He's got 3 of the kids. He's a teacher over there, and he's married to a Samoan girl. She was a cop, but now she's studying law over there. So they're all happy. Then next one is 35, who my
Incredible.
daughter. She's 4. She's got 4 kids. And they've just moved to Australia as well on Saturday. And then got a younger one. I can't remember how old he is. He's about 31 or something like that. And then still got a couple just finished. One just finished school. She's about 18 now. then a 16-year-old, and then a 6.
Yeah, how's your parenting style changed? Like with the older kids and the young one now, there's a lot to be said about older dads, eh? Like you have I think a bit of perspective on what's important and what matters, and
yep. And I believe that I'd like to think my parenting style has changed, for the better. I'm a lot more conscious of what they're eating, and when I was a bit younger, when the kids were young, we would just. I remember with my son, my middle son, he was, we were going down and, buying, I don't know, McDonald's or something like that. And we were talking about dinner one evening. He said, can we just have some vegetables maybe for... And I'm going, what? But, a lot of the time I was, I'd spend a lot of time by myself with the kids and stuff, and then and I didn't know how to cook or anything. I just generally to be down the road, and you buy Chinese food, you buy McDonald's, you buy fish and chips, you buy whatever, just take the easy road. But I was I've always I've got really, really good relationships, great relationships with my children, which I'm pretty proud of. Parenting styles now, I'm a lot more aware of, and we didn't have social media really back then, but a lot more aware now. And my wife, she's an American, and she's a lot more aware. She's the one who's driving it. I'm kind of a little bit more, I wouldn't even say easygoing, just it's probably not a good thing, where I just, Dad, can I watch on your phone for? Yeah, you'll be right,
Oh, soft touch.
Yeah, and then the wife comes, she goes, I said, I so I could be better.
Yeah, so your wife Jessica,
yep.
There's parallels with your relationship and my relationship. There's similar age gap. You've got 19, 20 years?
Yeah, 19 years.
Yeah, I'm the same, like 20, 21 years. Yeah. How does that work out? Because that's one of my concerns with Ash. It's like I'll be 80 and she'll only be 60 or whatever.
Yeah. Jess is I think she's kind of an old heart, an old head already. So we haven't really had a lot of. We haven't had issues, to be honest, but around that. But I think. I
feel like you've got quite young energy.
Yeah.
Like boyish energy.
Yeah. You could be right there. So I come down, I come down by 15 years and she has to come up a little bit, and then we meet in the middle.
As long as someone's being the adult at any given time.
Yeah. And it's I hate to say it, but it's always her.
Yeah.
But a lot of men do that, you just take advice and you take direction from your wife, and she's in education. Her family, her whole family are in education, and they're all academic. So I think everyone in their family's got a PhD.
Wow.
And apart from one sister, but according to her father, that particular sister who doesn't have the PhD is the only one who she makes a pile of money in real estate, I think, so over in the States. So. It works out.
Yeah. I saw a quote from her online. She says, when I've asked him, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? What do you enjoy doing? He tends not to have a vision. I'd love to see him really get excited about something and put his energy into it. Where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, see, I can't even answer that to you.
Yeah.
I've never been one that really... I must admit, it's a bit of a regret. I've never been one that's looked ahead too much. I kind of live in the now.
Quite cruisy.
Yeah. Which is, it's good and bad. It sounds good, but, when you're 64 and you look back and you go, yeah, I could have done that. I should have, maybe tried a little harder, for this. But Jess is, she's the type of person, she sets goals and she's really driven and gets there. And, yeah, she's been pushing me a little bit, but man, I just don't have, I like a lot of things. I enjoy so many. I enjoy so many things, but there's no one thing that I'd like to say, man, I would really love to do that or to. So I can't even answer.
Can't you tell her, chill out, I've done enough. I've done a lot.
I do say that a little bit.
Bring up your Wikipedia page, say, read this.
Yeah, I do say that a little bit. And then I say, don't forget I've been alive 20 years longer than you have. I've travelled. There's only one place that I'd like to go now, I think, and that's Russia. If I had an opportunity to go to Russia, I'd jump at it. Everywhere else, I feel that I've travelled and I've seen, a lot of the world. I've done a lot through rugby and still doing a lot through rugby, but I have done otherwise. But in terms of life itself, I'm kind of happy with the, got my kids and the grandkids and they're all doing well and I'm just happy in that space, I think.
You're content.
Yeah, I am. So, I don't know. I say to my kids, I'll be disappointed if I don't make 80. I think that'll be my goal. I should make 70. I've only got 6 more years, to get to 6. You know what 6 years goes, just like that. So, I don't know. I don't necessarily have a goal. I don't not where I want to. I just want to be okay. I just want to be happy, content. Stay with that. Kids doing well, family's doing well. So. I'm all right.
I think that's really good. And I've got no doubt you'll make it to 80. When I spoke to Laurie yesterday, he's 80 now, gets up in the morning, does some stretching and exercises, plays golf, shoots round about his age. He's very fit and vibrant. As long as you keep yourself a little bit active, you can still have a really good life as you get older.
Yeah. And I think these, the reality shows that we go on, that Match Fit was really good. A lot of them are really good for you, And I must admit, I do prefer the physical nature of different shows. Treasure Island, you get on there and they go, we've got a quiz coming up today. And you just go, fuck it. But if it's running into the surf and doing it, then I'm happier with that. So, but, Match Fit, you find out a whole lot about yourself and about your, your issues. And that goes a long way. And it's you obviously go into a lot more detail, with Match Fit, but it's nothing that you haven't heard before. Don't do this, don't eat too much of that, don't do that. And when you're young, you can sort of disregard all of that, which I did. But now I'm a lot more aware, and my diet's better. I love chocolate, and I still eat a lot of sweets and stuff like that. But I also eat a more balanced meal, a better diet. And Jess is. Is responsible to that. Not saying that my other partners, in the past haven't tried, but you don't take notice until you're 64.
Do you sneak chocolate? So, like after this, you drive back home to Pukekohe, which is about a 45-minute drive. Will you have some chocolate and dispose of the wrapper so she doesn't?
Probably, maybe not. It depends what time it is. I don't eat chocolate in the morning. Come on, I'm not that bad.
Yeah.
But I do that. I go up, go up the road and get some milk, and it's like, there's a peanut slab or something. Oh, no, all right, and then eat that, and then get the wrapper out of the car, put it in your pocket, and then walk in, put the milk there, and then,
I reckon there's so many dudes doing that.
Yeah, exactly, and that's before dinner too. So think,
or going to Bunnings and just having a couple of sausages really, really quickly before anyone finds out.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go back and we'll talk about your early years, and then we'll build up to this fantastic rugby career you had. So, one of 8 kids, big family.
Yep.
Your mum, Sifa?
Yep.
Is she still alive?
No. She's passed about probably about 10 years ago or so.
Yeah.
She I didn't feel like it came on, quite quickly. I don't know what the cause was, but she started getting a little bit sick and had some female issues. But I felt like, she made a trip to Australia and then came back and she was suffering a little bit. Went into hospital and never came out. But, for me, it seems like it came on quickly.
Yeah. How old was she?
She was 70, kind of early to mid-70s. Right. I don't know exactly.
Right. And she had 8 kids. You're one of 8.
Yep.
Where are you in the birth order?
Third. Yeah. She had my first 2 sisters. They were born in the same year. So one's January, and then the other one in December of the same year. So my father was in the Navy. So the joke is, he'd go off and do his stuff and then come home and, reconnect.
What was some of the values from your upbringing that still guide you today or still sit with you?
A lot of it family. Accepting people. My mother was always the one that drove didn't matter who you were, and partners come and go, and sometimes they come with kids, sometimes they don't, but everybody was a member of the family, and they were all treated the same. And I think from her, you accept and you treat people well, and I think that from her. My father was a really hard worker, and when he came out of the Navy and stuff, and 8 kids, one income. Well, it was one person bringing the money in. My mother was busy raising the children, but my father was working 2 full-time jobs, and I think that took his toll.
It's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure.
A lot of mouths to feed.
Yeah, and you don't realise until you're later on. But I never, we didn't have, I suppose we were poor, but you didn't feel like, we weren't destitute or anything like that. We never wanted, we couldn't afford, the luxuries, but we didn't want for anything. I was never hungry. I can never remember being hungry or not having something that I really needed or things like that. And it's not until later on, years and years later, when you're in that same position, and you think, geez, my father was, working all night. He'd come home, he'd have breakfast, or he'd have something, and he might have an hour or two before he had to go to another job, and then do that, and then come home, and then he'd have a few hours sleep, and then he'd go back to his, and you go, how can you do that? And keep doing it for years and years and years. So, that. All that stuff, when you get a little bit older and you start thinking about it, it means a whole lot more.
Yeah.
The sacrifice that parents make for their children, and you don't know about it until you are in that position.
Well, you only know what you know, mate.
Yeah.
I grew up in Palmerston North in the 80s, and I thought we were sort of poor. And I look back now, and we were just very middle class. 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and it was only until you go to a friend's place that's got like nicer biscuits or blue toilet in the water. I was like, oh shit, that's that's rich. So how many bathrooms in your house growing up? Just the one.
Just the one. Yeah.
So you would have never had your own bedroom.
No. Always shared. Every now and then, we'd swap, siblings, and we didn't have a shower we had just a bath. So can't remember the first time I lived in a place with a shower. But we had a washroom there with the old, and early on back in the day was one of those ones with the old ringers. That you'd thing the clothes through. There was no dryers or anything. It was always hanging the clothes out on the clothesline, and then separate toilet and then separate bathroom, just with a bath, and we just made it work.
Was it shared bath water?
Yeah, it was. Actually.
How many? I remember because I was one of 4. So from memory, we did it in order, so it was oldest to youngest. So
I think it was always oldest to youngest. But
second with the bath. But if you're not first, then it's soapy as it looks dirty.
Yeah.
But I think if we had cousins staying over, then after 4, they'd drain the plug and refill it.
Yeah. I can't remember how many would go through it, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't 8.
Mm-hmm. What were your first memories of rugby?
So we lived where we lived was walking distance then, but you had to walk everywhere back then, up at the Manukau Rugby Club, and I went up there. I would have been, 7 or 8 years old, when I first started organised sport. Everything else was just playing out in the, because you were just free to do anything in those days. And I can't recall that we had, I think we had a bit of sport at school. Primary school, intermediate school, and then college was after that. But my first thoughts were just going up there and just running around, barefoot with a whole lot of other people. Certainly not organised, or they might have thought it was. But you just get up there and do do whatever you want. But I went up there and I watched. So the club Manukau, it was situated in Onehunga, but then they got this just in time for me. They got this this field and new club room set up in Mangere, and the opening game, they got all these guys to come down and play in the match. And Brian Williams, BG, he was playing in it, and I remember going up to him and getting his signature, and he stood on my foot with, because they had steel sprigs in those days too, and I always remember that because he stood on my foot. But gave him the thing and all that, and there was a whole lot of people around, and boom, and stood on the foot. I was like, oh. And he just signed the thing, and so I've told him that many a time.
He was a big star, right?
Oh, he was
massive star, massive legs.
Yeah, we were a rugby family. We were a sports family, and that was always a great memory because we'd in our lounge, in our sitting room, we had a TV, and there'd be 10 of us, lying around watching the All Blacks play. When they're over in the UK or whatever, get up in the morning, everybody would get up and you'd have your cups of tea and your biscuits or whatever, and just sit there and watch. And, Brian Williams was always a favourite in our household. So, it was a pleasure and honour to actually become a friend of his, and then be kind of taken under his wing a little bit. So, that was,
With you, what was the percentage of talent versus just hard work? Were you naturally talented?
To a point, and I didn't like hard work until I had to. I had to do it. Funnily enough, I don't mind hard work. Especially so now. But I think it's probably Laurie that really, showed me what I could do. And my school reports could do better.
I never applied himself.
Yeah, never applied himself. Always, too social, always off talking to someone, always, doing this, could do a lot better, and I was that sort of kid all the way through. And I passed. I was always in the top classes and things like that. But I was too busy having fun. And I never really. I guess when I was younger, I had the talent to get me into certain positions, but then I never, I'd get to the trials of an age grade rep team or something like that, but I'd never get picked. I'd go through all of the things, but never quite make that last one. And that went on for quite a few years. But I was doing all right at the club, and I was all right. I was playing, and never really had any thoughts of I would have loved to have been an All Black, but how hard was I ready to work? And it turned out that not that hard.
Yeah. Was that like your dream? Like a lot of kids that even today still have the dream of representing New Zealand and playing for the All Blacks. Was that a dream for you?
It wasn't until I started. I did make a couple of those teams. I never really thought it possible early on. I didn't think too much about it, but when I started making a couple of age grade teams and things like that, and then I thought, and then I made an Auckland C team, an Auckland B, and I was kind of hovering around that, and I was thinking, this could, you never know. But the thing with me, I just did what I had to do to get through. I did enough, but it wasn't quite enough to take the next step, and I was lucky, I think. The Samoa, that opportunity, Peter Fats, he was always at me. So it's on my mother's side, she's Niuean. Her father was half Samoan, and back in those days, that was enough.
You don't need to justify it. Kelly played for Samoa for a couple of games.
Yeah, exactly. Fats was always, and Samoa weren't in the first World Cup, but so there was a bit of an affront to them, but they just kept pushing and pushing Peter Fats. So I thought, because he said to me, he goes, "You're going to have to face it." He goes, "You're never going to be a fucking All Black." And he goes, "Come on, man." He goes, "This is the opportunity, I said, "Yeah, I think you might be right." Because, as you say, I was what, 20...
Mid-20s at that time?
Yeah, 27-ish. and it played for Auckland. I was thinking, did all right, but when that door opened, and I thought, I will do that. Then jumped in, and that was all good. And then it went on from there, and obviously Laurie was watching. So, but I was never really pushed. Laurie came on, and I'd never met anyone. Oh no, to be honest, we had a guy, Brial, who was our club coach, and he was kind of like Laurie too. Where you were actually physically scared. But Laurie, he pushed. I just found that I liked that style. I didn't care that I got yelled at. We got pushed, and then I realised, I can do this. The harder he pushed, because there were guys. We had guys that were spewing on the sidelines after his trainings, or injured, and he didn't care. It was just well, fuck off then. If you can't finish training, fucking grab your gear and fuck off. You're no use to us. So people would sort of get up and meekly sort of sneak off, but I
thrived in that environment.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I was like, this is all good. And you just push, and you just got further and further and further. So, and then I found that I didn't mind being yelled at, being abused. You just go in this, you listen to it.
In one ear, out the other.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So rugby was you covered a lot of ground. You covered like 2 World Cups in that one answer just then. So I just want to unpack that slowly. While this was all going on, were you working on a rubbish truck? Was that just a short chapter of time?
No, I was actually on the truck for it would have been a few years. So I think leading up to that Samoa, to that first World Cup I was, and a little bit after that actually.
Because rugby was amateur then, so there was no money. You got per diems maybe, like a day rate or something else.
It was like $20 or something, $30. Not really enough to send home to the wife and say, here, pay the bills. Here's $44, pay the bills and feed the kids.
Don't spend it all at once.
Yeah, exactly. I was working on the rubbish trucks then, and that just, I didn't even know how that came up actually. I didn't have a career, like a set career path. Funnily enough, I was just going through life. I was playing rugby. People were giving me jobs, around rugby. I would just go. Really, when I look back now, I should have committed to something. And I tell the kids, and I tell whoever I'm talking to, go. I haven't been to school for a long time to talk to kids and stuff like that. But I always used to tell them about, setting yourself up first, because as we know, it can be all over in a heartbeat. So I should have done that, but it kind of worked out.
Yeah, the rubbish truck thing would have been good for fitness, right?
Oh yeah.
Jumping on and off the back of a truck, just running around K's every day.
Yep.
You wouldn't have had a GPS, so you wouldn't know your step count, but you would have been covering a lot of miles every day.
You're running for. You'd be running for hours a day, and a discipline too, because we started at 6 o'clock, so you'd have to get out of bed at 5 o'clock, get yourself sorted, get to work. We used to meet in Panmure actually, and at the swimming pool there, and we'd start at 6 o'clock, and every day 6 o'clock till we'd be finished at lunchtime or 1 o'clock. They were the latest days, and that whole time you were just pounding the street and carrying stuff. So it was really good in more ways than one, not just physically but mentally as well. And I think that sort of stuff carried over. I started getting a few league offers actually, and I went over. I remember I was on the rubbish trucks at one point, and I went over and did a fitness test at Newcastle at the Knights, and came up. I think I was second to Sam Stewart, who was a Kiwi captain back in those days, and that was all down to my rubbish truck stuff. All the fitness,
aerobic fitness.
Yeah. So they thought I was awesome. This guy's fit.
How did you have the energy for training and stuff?
You just got used to it. It was you'd finish at lunchtime, you'd have lunch and that, and you'd have a little nap. and then you could train again later on. The body just got used to it. It became normal. Didn't even think about, and and you could eat whatever you wanted. You could do whatever you wanted. I guess the body's a wonderful thing. Yeah, you fuel it and it'll work for you.
Actually, he's previous podcast guest, probably about the same age as you, Mark Graham.
Yeah.
I think he was a bricklayer, so he'd work as a bricklayer, then he'd have a loaf of bread and go to Carlaw Park for training. And
yeah. You
guys were built different.
Yeah, we'd eat pie so we'd start at 6, and then the first sort of first load was about 2 hours. But by the time you're going to drop the load at the local tip, it's kind of 8 o'clock or something like that, and you'd eat pies. You just buy pies and at the gas station, and that's all. Pie at 8 o'clock, or 2 pies or something, and then your next meal was lunch. You go home and you have lunch and have a sleep. I don't know. It just worked, but.
When did you first go to a gym? Gym wasn't a thing back then, eh?
No. First gym I ever went to, I can't recall. I think it might have been. Remember Jim Blair? He was a coach with fitness. He was the first, I think, Scottish guy. He was the first guy who became the fitness trainers he was with the Auckland team, and I think I went to his gym first in Kaiba Pass. I remember going for a fitness test actually for Auckland, and we went up there and had to do this rowing test and cycling. All this, it was all getting a lot more scientific then. Got through it, hopped in the car afterwards to come home, sat in the car, got all dizzy, and just vomited all over the inside of the windscreen.
Yeah, so 2 World Cups. There was the 1991 one for Samoa. And you guys did really well, quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Oh, it was so
What was that like?
That was so good. We that was probably one of the worst games we played, making that quarter against Scotland. But the whole... from the very, very beginning, it meant so much to Samoa, to have a team they loved their rugby. They were so passionate. But from the beginning, we had nothing, but we'd go back and we raised money to enable us to go, and with that selling raffle tickets, the old pig in a barrow one where you walk around and sell raffle tickets and so we did that, and man, it was so good. Went back to Samoa, played in the trials and things like that, and a lot of the island boys, and it was hard rugby back then too. But they had their goal, good coaching group, heap of good players, and get over there. The good thing, we kind of took them by surprise, really. The rugby world, and. I don't think the power of the Polynesian, was that well known up in the UK, in terms of sport, way back then. Certainly, down here, appreciated. But you get up there, and we went to Cardiff and spent a week there, trained, lost a few people through injury, over the week or so that we were there, and then built up for our first game against Wales in Cardiff, and that was just all the years you've been sitting there watching the All Blacks play Wales in Cardiff, Cardiff Arms Park, the old one there, and it was just so awesome. And we were treated really, really well. Everyone, a lot of respect for the Welsh, and get out there, and then. We beat them, and that was just that was the beginning of so many things for a lot of people, and beat them. I think we sent about 3 or 4 of them off. Having just Brian Limar and a few Apollo Perolini. Those guys just I think Apollo Perolini broke 2 collarbones himself. Of the Welsh.
They tackled hard, yeah.
Oh yeah, man, and And Brian Lima, he went on to become known as the chiropractor just because of the way that he, and I was saying to people, man, because I had to mark him, and there was another guy, Freddie Tuilangi, and his brothers have gone on now. They're playing for England, they did play, but those guys, because they go, Brian Lima, the chiropractor, blah, and he's playing rugby at 35, 40 years old and still hammering people. I said, man, you should have seen him when he was 18, 19 years old, 20 years old. And we went over to Samoa and played in a trial. And, I can't remember who I was. Or Vainga was this other guy. But we had marking Brian Lima and Fred Tuilangi. They were the two midfielders. And, there was another guy, Keneti. But, man, it was tough. It was hard work. But, everything that did for Samoan rugby, so worth it. And I would have had nothing if I hadn't been able to play for them. So.
Yeah, because as a result of that, at the age of 30, that's how your All Black call-up came. Yeah. You must have thought that ship had sailed, eh?
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. And then how does that come about? Do you get a call from Laurie Mains, or is it from Colin Meads, who was the team manager?
No, it was Laurie, actually.
Yeah.
Laurie,
and? Was he nice to you in that call?
Oh, kind of. So we did that, and, I was lucky because, the All Blacks hadn't gone well in the same World Cup. And there'd been a change of coaching and management, and Laurie had been appointed. And then, I get a phone call, and he asked, is Laurie Mains here? So, yeah. And he goes, I'm thinking, he goes, he told me I've been appointed coach and blah, 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 which I already knew. But he goes, so I'm thinking, would you like an opportunity? And I was like, what? And he goes, if I picked you, would you would you take the opportunity, blah, blah, blah. I was going, yeah. And he goes, I'm not promising anything. He goes, you got to perform. He goes, I'll name you. And he goes, you perform. And then he said, I didn't promise anything and it's up to you. I was like, oh. And he goes, but, he goes, if you want it, I'll give it to you. And I was like, right. And then I had to go about, I had to think about it. I had to go and talk to a few people. But, born in New Zealand, and a rugby person born in New Zealand, especially in those days, you wanted to be an All Black. And, I did think the ship had sailed, but, opportunity came back, and then I thought, man, if I'm really, really honest, I guess even by the time I'd hung up, I knew that what I was going to do, but I had to go through the process of, man, what should I, what's the balancing act? Ask Peter Fatts, and he was like, fuck. He goes, all those years, I've been trying to get you, and you come and you just were. So he started calling me Frank Once. He goes, oh, fuck, Frank Once, yeah. Oh. So, So I told Laurie, yep, okay, I'm in. So that was it.
And the timing couldn't have been better, because that's just when rugby was going from amateur to professional. Yeah. What was that like?
No, that was 1992, and it went professional in 96. But
okay, right.
Yeah. But that was in terms of, it was difficult, because you had to rejig everything, everything you'd been doing for years and years and years. So, this year is the 30th anniversary of Super Rugby, and or professionalism, but Super Rugby, and. We had when the Chiefs played their first home game this season, there was a group of the players from the very first Chiefs team that went down for a little bit of a celebration, and I think all of the Super Rugby teams have been doing it. But we go down there and then we're all having reminiscing, but you didn't know what was going on. Brad Morant, who was our North Harbour coach, he came down. He was our first Chiefs coach, and Sid Going, and But you go down and you're a professional rugby player. Professional footballer. How does that work?
What does it mean?
Nobody knows. As far as a few of us concerned, it was just like, oh well, now we just get paid. Everything we've been doing our whole lives, now we get paid to do. Not quite, but that's how we looked at it. But it was finding out. So, how many times a day do you train? Well, what do you do? I remember Brad. he's like, so, you always train, and then forwards will go off and do their line-outs and do, while the backs, go out and, do whatever plays and moves that they had. But you do that in the morning, and you come back and you have lunch, and then you go, now what do we do? Gym sessions, and we'd never been to the gym before, and you're just going, fuck, okay. And then Brad's like, he goes, okay, forwards, 2 o'clock, we're going to go down the park and we're going to do some line-outs. Okay. Backs, well, you can come too. And we were going, oh, fuck, what do we want to go? What are we going for? Fuck, he goes, he's like, stop fucking, he goes, I'm the boss. And he goes, if I tell you to fucking go and sit under that fucking tree, he goes, you'll go and sit under that tree. And he goes, you work for me now. And, it was all the games then were 7:30 at night rather than 2:30 or 3 o'clock kickoff. So then you had to figure out, the rest and the when do you eat and, how to prepare yourself to be, at your best at 7:30 at night rather than 3 o'clock. And then, you finish playing and then you they started all their warm downs and recovery sessions and stuff like that, and that was all totally new. So everything, we were kind of guinea pigs, really. Everything was totally new, around how to prepare and then how to recover and how to act as a professional. You play a game at 7:30. 2 hours later or so, it finishes. Then you go in and then you shower up and you do what you have to do, and then you're like, well, we've got to go out for a few beers, But it's midnight by then. That's probably where Prince of Darkness came in, because it's midnight by then, and it's hard to go out and find a bar that's open, at midnight. But anyway,
what do you remember of your All Black debut?
We lost. But
who was that against?
That was a World 15. We played against the World 15, and we lost. And I remember thinking, because my brother, actually, my youngest brother, before that first game, he rings me up and he goes, you all good? And I said, yep. He goes, well, fucking don't embarrass us. I said, hey. So anyway, this is all on my mind, as I'm playing. But I was marking Tim Horan, I think it was, and I remember the loss. But I remember during the game, the pace was, everything was just so much faster, and you had to think quicker, and I did come away with doubts. I was thinking to myself, fuck, can I do this? And it wasn't until I don't know, 3 or 4 games in where you start thinking, okay, I can
handle the pace.
I can handle it. Yeah.
When I spoke to Laurie yesterday, he talked about how good you were on defence, but also how deceptively quick you were on attack as well, and how just your rugby IQ, and how you had the ability to spot a gap before anyone else did.
Yeah.
You just adjusted to it.
Yeah. But there was a whole lot more that went into it. And I put this down to Laurie too, as well. But he, in terms of preparation, the physical part of your preparation is the easy part. Anyone can get fitter, can get stronger, can learn how to do this, how to tackle, how to all of that. But you've got to have your mind, your head. You've got to have that sorted out. And I was having ups and downs, highs and lows with in terms of form. That first game that I played, I didn't really, there's nothing you could say that you did this wrong. You did, but I just went through the game sort of not doing anything. You kind of, and I'm pretty sure, not really showing any potential, for growth. But so I was up and down in terms of form, and my confidence was pretty low. But Laurie came in one day and he said, you've got to sort yourself out. You've got to fucking figure yourself out. And he goes, so in the team, at that stage, I don't think was Mertz there. Grant Fox was first, and anyway, but there was old Mark Ellis, and there's a group of people. He goes, figure out what you can and what you can't do. He goes, you got Mark Ellis can do this, and and there were groups of guys mucking around, laughing. They were that was in their preparation, but they could do it. He said, you can't. And he said, so fucking stay away from them. Find yourself a player, a quiet spot. Sit down and fucking, and he goes, figure yourself out. I thought, oh, yeah, actually, I think you're right. So I started staying away from those, because you get caught up. You just get caught up in, they're having a mucking around, playing jokes and stuff like that. And, and then it takes away from the focus that you really need to be putting into the test match. And so I thought, hey, shit, he's right. Started, going away, moving away, finding a quieter spot at a certain point, move away, and then just start thinking about the game. And then I'd go through a bit of a checklist, and you're going, all right, I'm fit. Could always be a fitter, but I'm fit enough, injury free. Because I know everything I'm supposed to do. This and chat with Walter mainly, and we're okay. We're organised. Well, okay, I'm okay. So I just started thinking now and then visualising, and that I can't remember who got me into that, but you sit down there and you just run through your mind, of okay, if they do this, okay, I'm all right with that. I can move, tell Walter that I can do. Watch out for that guy might be coming in there, and you just go through different plays. Okay, then you think, fuck, I'm okay. I can, and then that had because you go in confident, and with the sports person, it's confidence is huge. Or lack of, but yeah. So from Laurie having come in and said, "Fucking sort yourself out," figure out what you can and can't do, and all that. I said, okay, went away, and then my consistency then from going from that, my consistency just evened out, and got to a point where I could just switch on when I had to, and nothing fazed me. Not that I'm a Mark Ellis type person, but
you just want to be where the fun is.
yeah. But if people are having a laugh and stuff like that, and you can be in it, and then you can just switch out of it, and I can just go along that road and focus. So I think that was huge for me, and then everything kind of rolls on from there when you've got confidence. A lot of talking, a lot of just connection. So. That's kind of how I was able to move through. And professionalism, well, what's that done for me? Because people used to say that the All Blacks were the most professional team, even though it was a fully amateur game. They were the most professional team out, but it was all mindset. And I think that's really what got me there. And I don't know, I was always able to see things that were happening. I like it if I'm coaching people now, especially young backs, and that you stand back and say, this is where you should be. Then looking at what's happening. Where are they positioning themselves? Where's that wing? If he's over here, then you got to be aware of something that might happen, and then you talk to your mate, your next, your midfield partner or the other wings, make sure everybody is switched on to the same thing. And it kind of, after a while, you're not even looking, we might be standing there and like, Dom, you see that guy over there? Yep, he's yours if he comes out. Yep, got that. And it's, it just happens.
Wow.
Yeah, so it gets to a point where you don't even think about it, it's
just instinct.
It's just instinct, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause you and Walter Little, considered one of the greatest partnerships ever. How often do you guys see each other these days? It's funny when you get older, right? Because you move in very different circles.
Yeah.
But it was such a big partnership for such a long time.
Yeah, I'll say. And, when I first went over to North Harbour, and Walt was there, and connection straight away, really. Such an easygoing person. He was one of the last guys who smoked. Him and Grant Fox, actually.
Foxy.
Yeah. You get the game finishes, and then you walk into the changing room, and you hear a. You look around. Yeah, it's Walter. Then.
Different time.
Yeah. Different. Oh, he's just smoking there, and he smoked all the way through his career. I remember rooming with him, and he'd always go out on the balcony or something at the hotel and have his cigarette. John Timu. One day I was rooming with John Timu, and he comes in. And he's lying on the bed. lights up a smoke. I was going, hey, fucking, what are you doing? And he goes, what? I said, fucking Walter goes out on the balcony to smoke. And John Timu goes, well, I'm not fucking Walter. So I was like, fuck. Well.
Was he more experienced than you? Had he been in the team longer?
Who's that, Walt?
John Timu.
Yeah, he had, because he came in, the same time as Craig Innes and Walter, and they were all of the same. Another guy, Jason Goldsmith, who unfortunately broke his leg.
Yeah.
But, he'd been in there a couple of years before that. But, what do you do? But, Walter...
That's wild.
Walter... and so much ability. He I think he had a knee injury for most of his career, and but he could play. Great. Skills, fast hands. He could kick with both feet. I think everything was natural, and I say I didn't like training that much, but he liked it less. But he could play anywhere. He could. Yeah, that guy. Ben, in answer to the first part of your question, I haven't seen him for years, probably. Every now and then, we'll cross paths, talk, or somebody will, but I don't even know where he lives. He's over the shore somewhere, but
wow.
I'm not sure where he lives. But that's a good thing too, though. You can pick up just like that. If I saw him tomorrow, it'll be just like 20 years ago.
And what do you talk about when you do see each other? You reminisce?
Not really.
No.
Not really. Just about what's happening. What's always ask about the family and stuff like that. And his wife Tracy. Who those guys have been together. Man, they must have been. He still seems young. I don't even know how old Walter is now. He must be. He must be mid-50s now. But those two have been together for probably 40 years.
Incredible,
yeah. And they had a family and just living their life. So, when you catch up, it's just, what's going on with the family and stuff. And, wherever you might meet, what are you doing here? Or, just general sort of thing.
I think a lot of male friendships are like that. And there's something quite comforting about it, eh?
Yeah,
it's like, there's no bad blood between you. You just don't need to catch up all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I've got this photo here, an iconic photo. Michael Brial from Australia just laying into you. And he wasn't, I'd sort of forgotten about this, but I was researching this over the weekend. He wasn't sent off or anything, eh?
No, he was, I think he was just penalised.
So he just comes up to you and it only looks like he connects with a couple of punches, but there's maybe like 10 unanswered blows.
Yeah. Well, it was my fault actually because I elbowed him. The ball came. Look at that, Andrew Merton's not even taking any notice.
Just ignoring it. So I don't want to see it.
Christian Cullen. I think Christian Cullen walked past. He's in the shot in the background on TV. He just walks past and
not my circus, not my monkeys.
No, the ball spewed out from something, and I bent down to pick it up. And it was because the lead up to that match was a little bit, iffy. There was a few words, said, and I think Sam Scott Young was involved in something with the haka and stuff like that, and there was just a bit of words. And then I think they brought Michael Brial in as a bit of an enforcer, because everyone had been going on about how the Aussie forward pack were soft and all of this. And then they brought him in, and. The ball spewed out, and I bent down to pick it up, and when I looked up, he was right in my face. And then I just raised my elbow up and, snapped him right in the face. Then he just came back with about 10. I think the first one definitely landed, and then after that, I think most of them sort of glanced off, but about 10 unanswered, yeah. Did
it take a lot of restraint for you not to fight back, or did you just go into defence mode?
Defence mode, yeah. That's what everyone goes, oh, geez, that was, you
it seemed really disciplined.
Yeah, that was good discipline. I was getting I said I just bent my head down and closed my eyes, basically. Fuck, this will be over soon. And then
Mertz has got to be coming soon.
Yeah, exactly. Little did I know he was off up the road.
I heard a rumour that Michael Brial held a grudge over you from something that happened like 3 or 4 years earlier.
Yeah. I don't think it was, but we were playing. I think we were playing New South Wales we're on tour in Australia, and he was offside, leaning over in a ruck, and in those days, you could do this sort of thing, cleaning out rucks and that, but he was leaning over and just getting in the halfback's way, so we couldn't clear it. And I couldn't not take the opportunity because he was leaning over and the right side of his body was open. And I was just thinking, oh man, I can't not do it. So I went flying in and just cleaned him out. And there was a big fight that ensued. And I think I got penalised. But I think actually he went off. That's right. Yeah. But I got penalised. But
And did you lose your ear against the Lions? Did you get your ear rubbed off?
Yeah, I think
it looks completely I can see a scar up there.
Yeah,
but was it completely removed?
No,
just hanging off.
It was split like that. That was lying on the wrong side of the ruck, and it was what's his name? Bloody, I can't remember his name. He was a policeman too. The guy who did it to me, Richard. No. I can see his face, but I just can't recall his name right now. But I was just lying on the wrong side of the ruck, and he just. That was always the thing too. They always used to go on about rucking, about New Zealanders, the way they rucked and things like that. But when the British tried it, they weren't quite as the technique wasn't quite there, because they saw our rucking as stomping and stamping, and that. But they just jumped in, and I think they were just, we were rucking the hell out of them, and they were when they were touring, they were playing Otago and Waikato and all those teams that, and that was back in the heyday when, man, you just climbed all over people and ripped their jerseys off them and scars down the back and things like that. That was the day when you go into the shower afterwards and the forwards are all in there with ruck marks, and man, it was pretty tough.
It was a tough game back then,
yeah, exactly. But so he just jumped all over me and ripped my. I didn't really feel it, I was also getting rucked and things on here, but I was lying on the ground, and Doc Mayhew comes over and he's like, lie down, he goes, and he said, "Oh, your ear, don't worry, it's all right." And then he just taped it all up, and I didn't know until afterwards, that it was split. But there was another fight after that. But it happened actually again in we were playing South Africa, over in South Africa, and Mark Andrews, this guy, and I went to tackle him. The game had just gone on for seemed like ages, kick-off, and gone on for ages and that, and then. I went to tackle him on the blind side, and he bumped me, and I fell back, and then he stamped. I don't think it was on purpose, but because I never used to wear a mouth guard, you didn't have to in those days, and my teeth, my front bottom went through my lip here. He'd stamped on the thing, and left me lying on the ground, and. They ended up scoring a try, and then they went back and they were waiting. Went back for our kick-off to them, and I was still getting treated. And Doc comes over and he goes, "Oh shit!" He goes, "You'll be right. You'll be right. Don't worry. It's just a scratch or something like that." So they put some jelly, the bloody Vaseline, on the cut, and I got up and ran back to halfway, and everyone was waiting. This game had gone on for ages. It was all over the place, and backwards. And then I got knocked over. Then they scored, and then they were waiting. When I got up, and I ran back to halfway, ready for the kickoff, and I looked up. There was only something like 3 minutes gone, or 4 minutes gone in the game. I was thinking, how am I going to last this? But it was all good.
Mm. And the 95 Rugby World Cup. So you mentioned Mark Ellis before being a teammate. You played every single game in that World Cup, apart from the game against Japan, where he scored a record amount of tries, six tries. Yeah. What are your reflections on that tournament? Did you get to meet Nelson Mandela?
Yep. Met him a couple of times. Only in pretty formal,
like ceremonial handshake.
Yeah. But and I think we went to another, it was a function, and it was a formal function, so it's not as if you really got to interact with them or anything. But the tournament was great. And being in in South Africa. I think that was the first time that they were involved in it. Yeah, so they went there in 91 or 87. Yeah, so they'd been out of the game. They'd only come back into the game a few years earlier, but after all that apartheid. So it was a really interesting place to actually go back to. But in terms of that World Cup, and the World Cups are, it was just the best because you're there, you're all in the same place, and it's the best teams in the world, the best players in the world. Everyone's there, with obviously the goal of winning the World Cup. But when you're in a tournament, situation, and everything is going on around you every day, it was bloody awesome, really enjoyable. And the good part was that we were in a really good vein, a really good form, a run of good form, and had great players. We really should have taken that out, but you know what happened.
Yeah, when I had Laurie on the podcast last year, he talked about this and talked about hiring private eyes and bookies and Susie, the waitress. Yeah, were you food poisoned? Yeah, how do you reflect on that final? There was food poisoning, but the question is, was it deliberate? If it was deliberate, who did it? And Laurie he seems to think he's got the answer, but no one really knows. It's kind of cool. That's one of those great sporting mysteries.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and depending who you ask, and South Africans are like,
get over it.
Stupid. Yeah, get over it. And it still comes up, quite often. But
were you sick?
Yeah, I was. I was a little bit. Well, see, even that. I was a bit sick. I had, I just had the bloody diarrhea and stuff. So then I went to Doc and asked him for some. I just said, I just got some diarrhea, and I think it was, it wasn't like the night, like the Friday night and then game on Saturday. I think it was earlier in the week, and I just went and got some. My gut was a bit off. Went to Doc. And he said, "Oh shit," and I think it was Craig Dowd and Jeff Wilson, and there were a few guys that were like really struggling, and then I would say most of the squad had some issues, but it was more the the preparation, the training, the just the stuff, the organisation of the week. I think then that started to unfold a little bit, but we still had opportunities to win the game in terms of that. We had a few guys, but we had good guys coming off the bench, so, still could have worked in our favour. But, 30-odd years later, I think the right team won, to be honest.
Yeah. How long does it... Yeah, what's it like after the game? And how long does it take you to get over a loss like that?
Took a while to get over it properly, but after the game, you have all the ceremonies. You still have to have the prize givings and the ceremony and things like that. And we weren't flying out, I don't think, for 3 or 4 days after the final. So we sat ourselves down in the team room and went for about 3 or 4 days,
just drown your sorrows.
Yeah, basically. But we went, and there was a lot of stuff happening. I think what was that? Louis Late. Yeah, he was the guy in charge of South African rugby at the time. Mike Brewer went up and abused him at the thing, and then abused the referee. Accepted a gold watch or something, and there's all this other stuff going on. But it takes you a while to get over a big, a thing like that. A World Cup is a pretty big thing to miss out on. Well,
I suppose you get back home and you're so high profile at the time. Like every day, someone's stopping you to chat about it.
Yeah. And it was amazing. And I think too, because we we played such good football up during the event, and we were clearly the best team there. But you still got to win everything.
Yeah. We touched upon Mandela before. I've got another iconic photo here. Yourself with Her Majesty the Queen and Sean Fitzpatrick and Jonah Lomu. Who's the guy in the corner? Is he with you guys, or is he? Who's that guy? Is he an All Black, or is that part of the Queen's?
This guy here?
Yeah, who's that?
I thought that was... hang on. Let me have
Chuck your glasses on. Mate, I got glasses. Are yours plus ones, or are you going...
I don't even know, actually. It's... what's his name? Oh, shit. Yep, he's an All Black.
Doesn't matter. I'll fact check it later.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's great. You and Jonah Lomu and
Yeah.
the Queen right there.
Yep.
You met her on a couple of occasions.
Yep. That's all. You see, that's the great thing too. That rugby's given. You travel, you meet so many people, and you don't really see. At the time, it's awesome. We're going to the palace, Buckingham Palace, meet the royal family. It's fun and it's good, but you're always kind of focusing. You got something else to focus on, in a few days in the next week or so. But the doors that it's open, that rugby's open, the opportunity to travel. I'm still travelling for rugby, now. I'm going to Angola actually in a couple of months, and a lot of people that don't really know who I am or know a lot about rugby. It's like, oh, when did you play? You go, oh yeah, 30 years ago. People go, what? Yeah. But no, the opportunities, just the experience. I remember being with Eric Rush actually at I don't know if it was that time. Yeah, but what's that guy's name that's coming back to me in pieces now? Gordon.
We'll look it up on later afterwards.
Yeah. But I was with Rushy and we're at Buckingham Palace. And, we're all lined up and the royal family comes out and he, and Diana was there and Prince, all of them were there, and we're all there and Queen's there. The only time I got nervous was when the Queen was around for some reason. The rest of them you can talk, just it's ordinary. And then the Queen turns up and you're just like, oh, shit. You straighten up and you're kind of, hands out of your pockets and just seemed to be the thing to do. And afterwards, Rushy goes, hey, because I looked around, we were all standing in a line and I kind of looked up, just the Queen's coming here and I just kind of looked up and I saw Rushy looking at me. I was like, and then go back to the Queen, oh, yeah. And I said, when I was just about to shake hands with the Queen, he said, yeah. Said, and I looked up and you were looking at me. And he goes, and he had a big smile on his face, funny kind of look. And I said, what, and he goes, fuck. He goes, I was just at that moment, he goes, I was looking around, he goes, and I was thinking to myself, fuck, Buckingham Palace. He goes, man, I was looking at all the art on the wall and, we're inside this room. And he goes, and then I looked, I could, the other members of the royal family, and he said, and I just looked down, he goes, and then I looked over at you, and there you were, just about to shake hands with the Queen. And I was going, and he said, and I thought to myself, fucking hell, look at us. And he goes, where we've come from. And he goes, and then I thought to myself, he goes, and I thought, fucking hell, a Māori from Otara and a fucking coconut from Mangere. And he goes, and look at us. He goes, fucking look where we are. And I was going, yeah, oh man. And then I said, look how far we've come. And then it became a bit of a thing. We're in New York and we're at the Empire State Building. So I look around, where's Rushy? Two guys from South Auckland. And then, Eiffel Tower, Rushy. And it became a thing everywhere. You go different places and look around and there's my South Auckland mate. Still bloody there.
Bro, that gave me goosebumps. That's really, really cool insight from Rushy to have that level of presence at the time to realise how big it was.
Yeah, that says a lot about him. Actually, he's I don't think Rushy's got as much credit as he deserves. Like and even now, so he's a lawyer. He quit law when all the rugby, when the discussion was going on about the, where the rugby turns professional, what was that Rupert Murdoch thing that was...
oh, that's right. So, what was it called? Some rebel league, eh?
Yeah, the rebel thing, yeah. So we got so sick of having all these meetings around it that we said, right, he goes, you're a lawyer. He said, you go to all the meetings, and if it's good enough for you, then it's good enough for us. And he was going, oh, fuck, I don't want to. He said, just, we've had enough. Sick of it. So he started going to the meetings, and he said it was just a nightmare, just the money. So he basically quit law because of that, because of his experience around that. And he went and he painted houses with his father. And then he got into the supermarkets and stuff. So, but... No, he's shit. He's been there from the beginning. Me and we debuted for Auckland on the same day in the same game, and he's bloody huge.
Incredible.
Yep, done really, really well for himself, and puts a lot back into not just rugby but into his community up there. And as I was saying about Jonah before, he's had such an impact on so many people.
And King of the Sevens as well.
Exactly.
So much to do with the Sevens. I've got another photo here, which is just iconic. It looks like a boy band. So who is it? Cully, Christian Cullen, Jeff Wilson.
No, Cully's not there. It is. He's a little short.
He looks tiny, eh?
I reckon. I was going to say that's Stewie Forster, but it's not.
But look how well dressed you guys are. You look like a boy band.
Jeez. Jonah with a big leather coat. Of course, he had to have all the expensive stuff.
Yeah, so what was it like being in that team environment when these like absolute game changers and superstars come along, like first of all Jonah and then Cully?
Yeah.
What's it like?
Well, what I was saying before about, having been in that, lucky to be in that era, when those guys came along. I don't think I've seen a better player than Christian Cullen. He's got to be, as an attacker, the excitement that he brought to the game, he got the ball and he just did magical things. And, for a guy that you could barely get him out of bed, When we were touring, you get up in the morning, you go and you train, and that he'd go back and go straight back to bed, and you get up at, I'm going to lunch. What are you guys doing? Oh, I'm going to lunch, and then the boys are going to go and play golf, or we're going to go down such and such. And he goes, nah, fuck that, I can't be. And he'd train in the morning, he'd have lunch, and then he'd go back to bed for the rest of the day. And his touring was kind of all like that. And you couldn't get boo out of him.
He was so shy.
Yeah. But now, you listen to him and he knows what he's talking about. So
I think I was mates with him in Palmerston North at the beginning of his career, and I can remember when he broke onto the scene. A lot of people thought he was like dumb or something, but he wasn't dumb. He was just really shy.
Yeah, exactly.
Super shy.
Yeah.
And he's always spoken very highly of you. Like, I think he found it really hard to be accepted in that All Black environment at the time. Like, it wasn't as an inclusive environment as what it potentially is now. Back then you had to sort of earn your stripes and prove yourself, but he was always really appreciative of how you treated him.
Oh, it's nice to hear. Oh, yeah, I always wondered about that, the back seat, all of that.
That culture.
That culture was never any good. I mean, there's no reason to... why would you do that, And, but, no, he certainly came in and proved himself, and, he's up there with the best ever, that guy. But, so Jonah, Cully, Jonah, who just came in and just...
Rock stars.
Just ripped things to pieces, Jonah. And for a kid, a young island boy from South Auckland who, he went from nowhere to just, as you say, the rock star. And then, the influence that he's had on the game, on the, young guys, who've come, years and years. I was in Egypt. I did a Intrepid Journeys thing there. And and it was when they were overthrowing the government over there, and oh man, it was huge. It was an awesome place at the time. To be, it was scary as anything, but to be in there was like really exciting in that. And we'd go up to people, and you're interviewing or whatever. I'd go and ask a question about, and be like, where are you from? New Zealand. And people, this in the middle of Egypt. New Zealand. Oh, Lomu. And you just go fucking... They got no idea about New Zealand as a whole. But, the impact that he had, changed the game, changed the rugby, I guess, the landscape, and still is, for good. So that guy. And then he turns up, and people used to tease us. Oh, fuck, your game plan is get the ball to Jonah as quick as possible, and then, of course it is.
What's your problem?
Yeah, exactly. And get the ball to Jonah as quick as possible, back him up, Done.
Oh yeah, Laurie told me some story about you setting Jonah up for a try, and it was some move that you practice in training, but it wasn't supposed to be used. It's called the double dummy. Do you know? Hang on, I've got it written down. There's some move. The double dummy cut. Does that mean anything to you? His memory's good for 80, isn't it?
Yeah, I reckon.
Apparently some movie came up with for training, which was never supposed to be used for a game, and it was like to keep things exciting for Jonah. And then Colin Meads or Earl Curtin said to Laurie, "Do you think Frank's doing the double dummy cut?" And he goes, "No, he wouldn't fucking dare." And apparently you did it. You gave the ball to Jonah. He scored. And yeah.
Sounds about right.
Still holding a grudge.
Yeah, exactly. With Jonah, you go, Jonah, so you set up, say there's a scrum or something, you set and you go, Jonah, come out, outside Mertz or, okay, yep. And then get the ball, and he'd run and he'd beat people and, I don't know, run 20 metres or something and do that. And then get tackled, get it back and go back to his wing. And, the play would go on. Say the ball goes out. Okay, Jonah, do it. And he goes, I can't. We go, what's wrong? Injured. He goes, no, I can't get there, I'm tired. We go, just fucking get there, And he, okay. And then he'd do it. And he'd run 30 metres and beat 6 players and then, get dragged down just before, or he'd go through and score, and then he'd come running back and you go, fucking hell, I can't do it. You can do it. He always had a little doubt. I think it was more his fitness, not his ability. But you always worry. Oh shit, can I get there? Can I do? And you just had to bloody, There was that Brown brother thing to that island. You could talk to him like that. Just fucking hurry. Yeah,
because you're quite a bit older as well. So,
yeah.
And Laurie talked about this how much he respected you guys. He told me he roomed you guys together once because Jonah was struggling with his weight. So he roomed you with Jonah so that you could be like his food police.
Yeah. I guess if I was going to be his food police. Laurie was his food police. But Jonah was eating, 12 eggs or something, 10 eggs at breakfast time. But he we were his buffer, Laurie's to Jonah. But Jonah respected him, fully. It was just a communication thing, Jonah, young, brown island boy from South Auckland. Laurie, older white guy from, I don't know where the hell he was from.
Southland, I think, yeah.
So, those two were never going to meet,
No way to communicate with them.
No. A lot in common. But, it was just a matter of, how you're going to communicate things. And that went both ways as well.
Jonah was notoriously generous. Like it's infamous, the stories you hear about him buying cars for young players at Super Rugby franchises and picking up like a ghetto blaster in every new town for the team bus or the hotel room. Did you ever try and talk him out of... Yeah, being so...
Nah, no shit. I've still got 2 cars in it. He bought me my Tita. Nah. I just let him, there's no way I was ever going to tell him not to do things. I was, you can give advice, you can say, there's no need to be, like the music, that side of things, there's no need to buy, go out and buy things for that and big bloody boom boxes, and you don't have to buy a new one, you don't have to buy someone some headphones, and you don't, it's all that sort of stuff. But he was
his own man.
He was his own man, yeah. And I think too, he hadn't come from money, but he also, he had a pocket full of money at the time, and he was making more money than everybody else, and that was just his nature. So,
yeah, he sounds like the loveliest guy. I had Steve Devine on the pod. Did you overlap with Steve Devine?
Yep.
Yeah, and he told a story. You were in transit in LA, and he had the haka burned on a CD because he wanted to learn the haka for his debut. So he was in the duty-free store looking for a Discman, and Jonah was like, "Oh, just borrow mine." And then at the end of the trip, he went to give it back to Jonah, and Jonah was like, "Nah, man, just keep it."
Yeah,
and those Discman were like $1,000 back then.
Yeah,
it's just nothing to him.
Yeah. When we were rooming together, because I used to get Jonah to carry my bags and stuff like that. That was all part of the
seniority.
Yeah. And he'd come up and, put the bags in, and you go up to the room and he's lying on the bed, because back in the day, you had a double bed or whatever it was, and then a single bed. He'd come in and he's lying on the double bed and just like, hey, what the fuck? And he's like, oh see, my bed. He goes, oh, sorry. Then he'd off onto the other bed and lie there, and he'd spend his time. But, you wake up in the middle of the night and look over and he's got the music blasting, and his feet are hanging over the edge and stuff like that. And it's just like, but he used to go up and after training, you're gonna have a shower or a bubble bath, after training. I said, I might do a bubble bath actually. Okay. So he'd go up and he'd run me the bubble bath and stuff like that, and then make me a cup of tea and bring me biscuits, and see, I'm talking 30 years ago too, but how they used to have little cookies or something.
Wrapped up in the hotel rooms.
Yeah. So he'd bring those, and you go, fuck, come on, man. He'd run down the shop and come back with some nicer biscuits and stuff like that. And,
that's so cool.
Always fun.
And it must have been a really special relationship because, you were a pallbearer at his funeral. Another iconic photo I've got here. Manu.
Yep.
Is that Joelle Videri?
Yep.
Yeah, yourself. I'm not sure who's just behind you, but that looks like Sir Michael Jones, and maybe a Ronnie Clark as well.
Oh, Dylan Mika.
Yep.
Michael Jones. I'm not too sure who that is. Joelle.
Do you remember when you heard about his passing? Because it was quite sudden, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Jeez.
I think he'd been over in the UK doing some promo work for Heineken or American Express or something, and then sort of came back.
I can't even remember who told me, to be honest. But even just looking at that photo, Joelle's gone, Dylan Mika's gone.
Yeah.
Manu Vatuvai, yes. Well, he's not gone, but
he was gone for a couple of years.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, he seems to be in a good place now.
Yeah.
I saw he had a boxing fight over the weekend. He did really well.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah.
But Jonah's... And, a lot of that, because no one even really knew he was sick, and he went through all of his All Black stuff, carrying that those issues. He could have... Man, imagine... had he been 100%, imagine what he would have been
capable of.
Otherwise. Yeah. But Jesus, I can't remember where I was even when I heard. But at 40 he was.
Yeah, painfully young.
Yeah, exactly. And but I knew he was struggling. He'd made a few comebacks to rugby and things like that, and never really, worked, I guess. But it says a lot for him because he was still getting contracts and things like that from even if it didn't work for them on the field necessarily. The association with Jonah in their club room, was more than about rugby, I guess, to be honest. But he's a 1 in a million, and I get. You'd have to say that he was, he's been the best. He's, like the best ever, I think, and not just purely in ability, but just the way he changed things, changed the trajectory of, of the game, of the professional game, and put it out there into the world. And I was when we were rooming together, we'd come home from wherever, from a day out or training or whatever, and the number of letters, the amount of mail that was in our room, fan mail for Jonah, was, man, it was just so, it was crazy.
Wow.
Yep. And sometimes you would push the door open and the envelopes get stuck under the door and it's like, oh, shit. Yeah, but, just fan mail. People outside the rooms, I felt sorry for him, actually, a lot of the time, because he was shy as well, young, shy, and but so much attention, and I think it was, I think it was pretty tough for him, to get through that. But on the field, he'll always be remembered for, that 95 World Cup, I guess.
Yeah. Was it not? Oh, yeah, 95. Where he ran over Mike Catt.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the infamous Keith Quinn quote.
Yeah, exactly.
Apparently he dropped his paper or something, so he had something that he was going to that he was going to say, but he dropped his notes, so he just went, Lomu. Yeah, it must have been strange for you, like being so close, being like a mate to him, and there's some stuff that he went through, and it hasn't aged particularly well. Like when he got married without inviting his parents, and then he had to go on like a nationwide, go on the Holmes show to apologise along with John Hart.
Yeah.
You look back now, it's none of anyone's fucking business.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
But I think too that was early days of professional, professionalism or professional rugby, and it was that learning curve, where nobody really knew. The only thing we had to go by was the closest thing was rugby league, in Australia, and they've had their issues over the years. And I guess they took what they took from American football, which is even worse. But it was all a huge learning curve, and you had to, a lot of people did things that they probably would never even contemplate now. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, you just say no. Yeah, I'm not. Imagine now. I need you to come on and explain yourself on television at 6:00 or 7 sharp.
With the coach sitting next to you. Yeah, it's unthinkable.
Yeah. You'd be like, what the fuck?
What was do you think your proudest moment as an All Black?
I don't know, actually. If I had to, probably the fact that I actually made it.
Oh, you didn't just make it though. Like, making it's one thing, but then 55 tests and being considered as one of the greats.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty proud of that when I look back on that, and the fact that it is kind of still going. Where I still get asked to do stuff because of that. So, I'm proud of what I achieved. And when I look back now and everything that I've done, and that's, you said, do I reminisce at the beginning? And yeah, I do. And this is the reason why. It's because you get to remember, and you bring up things that I haven't thought about for years, or no one else has ever brought up, and that sort of stuff. But they're good memories. Everything is good. There were tough parts, but by the most part,
you look back and they're good memories.
They're great. Yeah, they're great, and they're people that you meet, and you'll know them for the rest of your life. Another thing, I'll go on about Rushy, but Rushy goes, you got no friends? You move to a new country. He goes, you got no friends? And he goes, go to your local rugby club. He goes, you'll have fucking 100 friends just like that. And that's the beauty of the game, where you can travel the world and you can turn up somewhere, you find a rugby club and you go down there and they go, well, where are you from? And New Zealand is another, it opens doors for you, but you go down and, played in New Zealand. Oh, yeah, Dad, come over here. Straight away you're in.
Especially if you wear one of your old jerseys. Yeah. Have you got your jerseys anywhere? Are you a memorabilia guy?
No, not really. I've got a suitcase of, every now and then, if you move home or you're doing clean up at home or something like that, and you pull out boxes and suitcases and stuff like that, and some of my jerseys, you open the suitcase, and I've still got an All Black suitcase from the 90s, which has got them all in there. Open it up, dust and crap everywhere. It's like, you pull out jerseys and you go, oh yeah, but they've been in there for 30 years, for 20 years since I got them, and every now and then you go, oh shit, that's right. Oh shit, yeah. Then you put them back, and then you
forget about them
again. So I'm recently going through a big clean out and stuff, and there's all these photos and just programs and things like that I didn't even I'm not a collector by any means, but these things come back and you just pick them up and it's like, oh, that's right, forgot about that. And
so you're not a framer? There's none of them framed on the walls?
Nah, not really. I gave a lot of my All Black jerseys to rugby clubs and things like that, and
charity fundraisers, auctions.
They'll put them on the wall. Buck Shelford said to me, give your stuff away. He goes, because he said the same thing, and he goes, I've got an All Black tracksuit from 1986, and he goes, what the fuck use is that? He goes, what am I going to do with a fucking? You go, oh yeah, and he goes, and then someone comes and asks you, and you go, oh no, I don't want to give this. He goes, yeah, I should have given it. He goes, give your stuff away to people raising money for charity, all of that sort of stuff. He goes, because it's going to be no use to you in 30, 50 years and stuff. And he's right. I've got a couple. I've got my All Black cap. I've still got a couple of older jerseys. That. The first ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all you need, a couple of key pieces.
Yeah, exactly.
How did you find the adjustment to life after rugby? I'm just thinking, like, some of the stuff we've talked about, like meeting the Queen, being in New York with Rushy and all these big things. I just wonder after that if life seems to lack a bit of colour.
Yeah, exactly.
Or, the pace of life just feels so slow after that.
Well, that's the thing too. I've enjoyed that. I've been there. I've enjoyed it. But I don't have to be the leader of the pack anymore. I don't have to. I don't look for excitement and stuff like that. But when you first finish, I struggled. And I wasn't sure why, but I struggled to relationships and things like that. Even holding relationships. So I finished here, and even the way I finished was wasn't great, because I'd kind of come to the end, and I knew it in my mind. And John Hart had came in, and we'd talked. He said, you let me know when when you're ready, when things are ready, when the time is right. He said, and we'll manage your exit. I was like, okay. So then you go through all this, and I was thinking to myself, and it was, I just couldn't be bothered going through the build up to test matches and stuff. I was still fine physically, but mentally I kind of wasn't there anymore. I didn't want to go to Wellington, say, for the whole week and prepare to play a game. I was still fine playing the games, but that's not how it works. So,
Oh, you wanted the Saturday, but not the Monday to Friday.
Yeah. Can I just come down on Saturday morning? Yeah. And so all of that,
that makes sense, yeah.
There was just a whole lot going on. I just said, I can't be bothered anymore. And then I started, and Joe Stanley, actually, he was a player agent, and he rang me up and goes, I've got a couple of offers, inquiries about you, for you. And one was in France, and one was, where was the other one? In England. But I thought, France, always had a bit of a, interest in France, another culture, all of that sort of stuff. I thought, yeah, it sounds right. So we decided that we'd go to France. It was going to be really, really tight because we had an All Black trial coming up. And so we thought, we'll sneak it in. We'll get up there. Football World Cup was on in France at the same time. So this was late 90s. And so we thought, we'll get up there. We'll do what we have to do up there, see if it's going to work. If not, we'll still make it back in time so that I can play in the All Black trial. Yep. Flew up there. Airline strikes. Lost baggage, all of this stuff. Pilots went on strike because of the Football World Cup, and they wanted, I don't know, we were just, so ended up missing, I got back like a couple of days before the trial, but John Hart was ringing in, it was the media, it was all this speculation anyway, and we'd been avoiding John Hart, and John Hart and Joe Stanley are tight, they're like that. When they finally come through, and the phone rings. Now Hardy was talking to Joe. We did all this stuff in France. Hardy was talking to Joe, and then I don't think I was there at the time, but he came back and he goes, "You need to ring Hardy, tell him, what's going on." I was like, "Oh fuck." I didn't want to because conflict. I'm not really a conflict person, but. So anyway, the next day, and I rang him up, and I thought, morning in New Zealand, okay. his secretary or whoever it was, she'll answer the phone. That'll break the ice a little bit and then pass it on. Okay. John Hart speaking. I was going, oh, fuck. That was good. Hardy, Frank Bunce. And it was like, on TV, where I held it. He just went for it. I held it back, and he was swearing, and I was going like this, and Joe was going, oh, fuck. And he was, yes, fuck. Then when he calmed down, just chatted to him. He goes, he goes, I've had to fucking lie to the media. I've had to tell, and I've had to, I don't do it. He goes, fucking hell, how do you think this looks? Which was fair enough. I was in here. And anyway, we got back, and when we flew back, and we had to have a meeting at the airport. Joe went to come in, and he went, no, you're not welcome. So he waited outside. We had a meeting, and he said, I can't play you in the trial. He said, you've just got back, and 2 days later we're supposed to. I can't do it. It's not fair. I said, okay, that's all right. And he goes, fucking. So that was how my All Black career ended, and that was the way it was. But
so it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. You have this amazing career, and then it just sort of ends with like a disappointment.
Yeah, it did. But Hardy, he apologised to me actually, probably a few years later. But he just the way that it all happened. But it was my fault as well. He said I could have done things better, but it was a lot of emotion at the time. And anyway, it worked out. But in saying that, I did struggle after that, because you do something your whole life, and especially when the game, not even when it went professional, but with the All Blacks, and rugby, you've got your week, you prepare for something on the weekend, right, done. Next week, same thing, done. Next week, and that's most of your year. And when you're doing that, and it's all fully controlled, you're got to be there at this time, you're going to need this, you got to do this, yep. And one day it's not there, and you're a little bit lost. Yeah. So I went through probably a good few years of trying to find myself, and as I was saying, relationships. Went to France in the end, got injured, and then I was, that was all over the place as well. And I kind of never really settled down. Man, probably 5 years after that.
Do you think in hindsight there was like an element of depression there?
Possibly. Yep. You're kind of lost. And but I also found that I missed the physical. There was I had no outlet. I missed getting knocked around and trained the physical aspect of all of that. And you kind of you're always. It's just like, what's going on? What's wrong?
What's a big part of your life and your identity and who you are as a person, and suddenly it's no longer there. How do you rebuild and find out what the next chapter is going to be?
And this is the advice that the young guys are getting now. You plan before before it's time, before you retire. It's pretty hard to retire and then figure it out. So
it takes time just to build something new, doesn't it?
Yeah. So think about it now. If like a young guy who's right in the middle of his career now, everything seems rosy, but it comes around really, really quick, as you know. And your age, circumstances change. So start planning now, start thinking about things now. And I was lost for ages. And I think a lot of the training now, I think they're doing the right things for the for the young guys with giving them options, and there's dedicated people in terms of careers and the aftermath of rugby. But again, we were the guinea pigs, and at the beginning and then at the end, you are left on your own, as an ex-player. Getting a bit better now. There are some avenues that you can take, but everything was a learning curve. The beginning, all through the beginning, the early years of professional rugby, and then how it ends for you. So that's the hard part. And for a lot of guys, it hasn't ended well.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? So, what has life post rugby looked like for you? You've done small businesses and stuff.
Yeah. I did a lot of TV stuff early. Sky and TV3, and did a. Not that I was a bloody. There was no Keith Quinn, far from it.
Well, there's only one Quinny.
Yeah. I was a comments guy, and I'm very happy being a comments man. But even then, when you're doing 3 and 4, follow the All Blacks on tour, and it just becomes a little bit. You become a little bit blasé, It's like, oh fuck, rugby. The game is the same. Doesn't matter. You just change the name of the teams. And I got a bit sick of that. And then being away, all the time, I was away doing rugby when the family was at home. Yeah. And then I was at home when they were all at school and stuff like that. So that kind of wasn't working, and just got a bit tired of that. And then bought into a. I used to work in a tyre shop when I was at school in the holidays. A friend of mine's father had a tyre shop, so we would go and work in it. And then a guy rang me up and he said, I'm going to go and look at this tyre shop. You interested? I was like, it's been a long time. He goes, just come down. And went down and started working in this tyre shop with him. And I thought, this is all right. So I ended up buying it off him, and they had that for 14 years.
Wow.
And then got into another one. But,
were you actually working in there? Were you on the tools?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So that was just,
Maybe it gave you some of that physicality that you're talking about before.
Yeah, and I've never minded the physical nature of it, and you're still lifting heavy stuff, and so there's another one in Pukekohe now, and so still work there, still on the tools now. I'll probably have to leave here and then go back and see what's going on.
Because I knew you had some businesses, but I just assumed you bought into them and had people running them for you.
No,
you're in there,
a bit of that, but no. I don't think I could ever sort of, like people say to me, what are you going to do when you retire? It's like, fuck, it's true. And I used to get a lot of people that would come into this shop and who had retired and had nothing to do, and they were like, you've got to have something to retire to rather than just retire from. So yeah, that's really so true. And they'd want to hang around for hours talking, just to pass the time. And you're just going, holy hell! But I can't. I don't think I could. I'm 64 now. I don't want to retire when I'm 65. What am I going to do?
I'm a firm believer. Like you need that purpose to get out of bed in the morning. Yeah. Otherwise, you just fade away. So 64 years old. No one gets to the privileged position of living to 64 without going through some real tough periods or big adversities. What do you think for you would be the biggest adversity? You sort of talked before about that transition period from being a professional rugby player to not. Would that be up there?
Yeah, that's up there. But because you don't know what it is, what's causing. What are my issues now? What's causing me to be feeling like this in relationships? The breakdown of relationships. I think. Family's always been good. Kids always been good. And you always have regrets with your kids. Especially about my first 3, the older 3. And I was doing a lot of touring around back then. I think I could have handled that better. But I think I think it is that transition. Really, you got to get that right. If you want the rest of your life to turn out, how it should or how you want it to, you really got to get that transition right. You got to get the end of your career and then the beginning of your next life. You got to get that sorted. I don't think I've had really huge regrets, but.
Yeah, and that piece, that next piece is easier said than done, because you might have an idea, but then you might start doing it and realise that it's not bringing you joy, or you just don't really like it. Yeah. So it's finding that thing that's going to spin your wheels.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you happy these days? And when do you think you've been your happiest?
I know I'm pretty happy these days. I think being my happiest. because I was my daughter's moved to with her family moved to Perth very recently, and we were going through. I sent her some pictures of when she was really young, and I'd come back from overseas, and I was with. So there was in the picture there was me and her, and we're talking. She's 35 now, so man, she must have been. And that's almost 27 years ago.
Yeah.
And of these couple of Italian friends, and another mate, and I showed her this, sent her this photo, took her, on the phone, and she comes back and she goes, "Oh, they were such great days." And then I was thinking, shit, they were actually. They were like, even though I was travelling and I wasn't back, they'd come over. My kids would come over to Italy or to France, and we'd spend time over there together, and then we'd come back and we lived together in the, in the house, and it was carefree, and there were no issues. Things were just
simple,
yeah. But you had, I don't know, and I think it's a bit about the state of the the times we are in at the moment. It's hard work out there for for families and for for kids and stuff like that. But life just seemed so much better. Back then, and I think it was too. I was talking to my family with my daughter moving. We were all at the airport and stuff, and you're talking to your family about it, and turns out that there's a couple of them that were also thinking. My brother-in-law was telling me he's been trying to get my older sister to go, and she said, I'm not going. I don't want to go and live in Australia, and I don't either. And another of our siblings was saying, we still live in your mind. You still live in the New Zealand that that we were brought up in, and it was joyous. We were always positive. You could make your life. You could forge your path, and there always seemed like there was hope.
Yeah, and this is coming from you, who, as we established at the beginning, was raised in a house with 10 people and one income. So bare bones sort of stuff, but still somehow better.
Better, yeah. I say that to Jess, my wife, and she was. They were raised pretty well, and I often find myself saying to you, "See, it's actually better being poor." you get raised a certain way, when you don't have everything and everything that you want, everything that you can hope for, but sometimes you just. Your expectations aren't as high, and it's good and bad, but I don't want to be destitute, but I got
were you had a few years of earning, like, I suppose, good professional money. Were you good with your money?
No.
Got it. Yeah, there was no sort of financial literacy at the time, was there?
Exactly. And I think if you don't come from money as well, you don't really know how to manage it, how to handle it. We had no idea about investments and in shares and things like that. So. Could have been a lot better. Could have been sitting a lot better. But
hindsight.
Hindsight. Could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think your best and worst habits are? Or if Jessica was here, what would she say your best and worst habits are?
What did she say, Dan?
No, I haven't spoken to
her. She would probably say that not that I could necessarily do, but maybe. Aim a little higher in terms of goals, and she hates it when I bloody sit on the couch and watch TV for too long, because that's just a waste of. But it's one of those things. No, she'd just tell me that she's always been encouraging. Always, and that I could do really whatever I turned my hand to. And I got no doubt that I could. But some things you want you want to do, and other things you don't. And I'm kind of happy in my
happy in your lane.
I know right at the very end, right when I'm on my deathbed, I'll go, I should have bloody
should have applied myself here or here.
Yeah, exactly. But there's always regrets.
Yeah. What? Do you have regrets? What are your regrets?
I regret not staying at school. I should have furthered my education. But when you're young and you're teenage, just getting around that age, and you think you know best, and because I could have done so much more. Even though I'm happy with what I've done, I could have done more, and even in different areas. But I think it's that I should have stayed at school. The transition part, I probably didn't listen to some people, to some advice I was given. But apart from that, really. Yeah. And relationships, past relationships, there's some of them could have been handled better. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, you live and learn, don't you?
Yeah.
Are you shocking at communicating with serious?
Yeah. I'm learning though.
Oh, bro, same here.
Yeah.
Constantly a work in progress.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. And that was another thing on Treasure Island. We sat around the campfire and just chatted, and that was the best part of the whole thing, where the cameras are gone. The day's work's finished, and you've had your rice and beans, and then you're just lying around. There's no social media. There's no phones. There's nothing. There's
you're in the moment.
You're in the moment, and you're just lying around, and then you just start talking, and it's amazing what comes out. It's amazing what you talk about, and what we'd be sitting here and we'd be listening, because we've got all the time in the world, and then we're just listening to you talking about your life and your relationships, and and then the next person says something, and then it's your turn, and so it's just really opened everything up, and I found that just being able to do that, I found it was so good for me, as a person, and obviously you're younger than me, but we're still of that era where it's just hard to open up.
It's hard. That vulnerability piece, it's really difficult.
It is.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's no reason, once you get through that, there's no reason to be like we were. Yeah,
there's a better way.
Yeah, there's a better way. You just got to be open to a little bit of change, a little bit of, it's uncomfortable. It can be uncomfortable, but it's so much better than sitting there and going, oh, fucking, grumpy old men. Oh, I always laugh now. You look at people. Oh, it's woke. Oh, it's and you just go, fuck, just get on with it. Fuck.
If your kids or grandkids were here, what 3 words would you like them to use to describe you as a man?
Me? Oh, yeah.
3 different words to describe you and your character and your personality.
Yikes. Real, genuine, loving, and what I say, real or genuine?
Genuine, loving,
and
2 great words so far.
Genuine, loving, and happy.
It's a great set of words. At 64, genuine, loving, happy.
Yeah,
are awesome words.
Yeah,
if that's what other people say about you, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Especially the people that matter the most.
Yeah, that is true. My daughter that's just left, Samantha, she said that my oldest son, he's 40, but he's caring, and he's one of those guys. He's got a soft nature. Then there's Sam, who's strong as anything, like really strong-willed, and and then Jordan is the next one, who's early 30s, 30, 31, something like that. And he's had his issues, but nothing serious. But he's over in Perth now as well. But my daughter Sam said that, she's talking to Jordan and she talks to, with her kids and stuff like that. And she goes, and the really good thing is, he's been brought up, especially Jordan, because he's got a macho attitude and stuff like that, little, but soft side. But she goes, no, it's because he's got no issue saying I love you, and her kids, and but they go, he's grown up like that. He says I love you, and he can hear it, and he goes, but that's because you've always said that, and to me, and I was like, oh, yeah. She goes, yeah, you've always been open around us like that, and you said I love you, and we can talk like that around you, and it's just a natural thing for him now. And I was thinking, and I know I do say it to them, and it's never been an issue. And I thought, it's nice to hear. So
you're hearing it validated, yeah. I've done some good stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. Are you proud of yourself?
I'm proud of myself. Yeah. Generally, I'm proud of myself. I could have done a lot of things a lot better. But generally, in terms of what I've achieved, where I've been, and I'm a little loath to say where I've come from, because that puts it on my parents. Because then I go, to have come from here to here means that once we were down there and we had nothing and stuff. But, I was always loved, always had everything I needed. I was...
Roof over your head, food on the table.
Exactly. Never, ever felt, apart from a few times I got a good hiding, but, from my mother, mainly. My mother was a disciplinarian, my father wasn't.
You are, and what was her weapon of choice?
Vacuum cleaner pipe.
Yeah, I got the belt. Dad would always, and sometimes like Mum was never. Mum would be like, "Wait until your father gets home." And then hours later, we'd get the belt for something, and you couldn't even remember what we'd done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or there's a toughie. It's a broom, but it's all these strands of so you get whacked with that. But.
Well, you've done well. You've done well. You say you could have done more, but the stuff we've covered today, you've done a lot. You've got a big family, a lot of grandkids, this incredible playing career, which puts you in the legend status. You've done a lot.
Yeah, yep. I have actually, and I should finish out. I say that I want to make 80. I should actually do something with the next 15 or 16 years. Something that I actually... That's the problem, though. Think of something. Jess, what do you want to do? What are you going to do for the next 5 or 10 years?
Yeah. How's this been today? We've been going for 2 hours, 10 minutes. I went through every single podcast that you've been on previously, and there's only a couple, and they're rugby-based ones, and they're a lot shorter than this. Have you found it okay?
I have.
Talking about yourself for this long?
Yeah. No, I don't mind, as long as you ask the right questions. I don't mind opening up. And I'm in that space now as well. I don't. I got nothing to hide. So it's amazing. 2 hours, 10 minutes went just like that, and that's when it's been good.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your time today. It's great to see you back on TV on Celebrity Treasure Island, and I'm really excited to see what you do next. Or maybe you won't do anything next, and that's fine too.
Yeah.
But mate, I'm just pleased to connect on this level and see that you're happy and content with life.
Awesome.
It's so cool.
Cheers, Dom.
Frank Bunce, Buncey, a great New Zealander.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Beautiful.